Hi, this is Tim Sanders, founder of the Omnia Radiation Balancer, and I'm honoured to have been a guest on the Journey to Truth show. Now, with phone radiation, most people think that because they can't feel anything, nothing is happening. But the reality is that this radiation is causing a lot of stress and damage in your body, and your brain doesn't register that it's happening. The likelihood is that you'll only find out about it when this continuous stress shows up in the body as disease. And this is backed up by well over 10,000 peer-reviewed studies showing that EMF causes serious diseases when they tested it on rats. The Omnia Radiation Balancer removes this stress. It's proven to balance the blood, it brings perfect crystalline structure to water, and our kinesiology muscle tests show that the body goes super strong when you stuck it on your phone. And it works with 5G. You just order enough patches to cover every radiating device in your home, and you're done. It lasts forever. But to be clear, let's not get complacent. We must all stop 5G together. So big thanks and big love to Tyler and Aaron. Click on the link below and you can quickly and permanently bring balance back to your body. Thank you.
It kind of shows the alignments in terms of which polarity they're aligned with. Yeah. So you're kind of seeing like the control structure in itself now implementing to some degree here.
Sure.
Right? Because a lot of the research that I've been doing now in terms of the whole thing with the control system or the capitalistic system and the whole thing with like debt slavery and stuff like that actually started or seemed to have been implemented here first. And then it basically cast a net over the basically Western hemisphere, right? So that would basically, yeah, it's crazy. And the island is actually a crystal. So
yeah, we'll get.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that. Let me do a quick little intro here, and then
right.
Yeah, this is all good. Let's save this for the
I'll just start it from earlier. Oh, I need to turn my phone down. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect every time. So you guys, what's up? You're listening to Journey to Truth podcast, if you don't already know that by now. Tonight we're joined by Jerome Headley, coming to us from Barbados, the island of Barbados, and that's what we were just talking about. If you happen to tune in early, and what Jerome calls the Atlantean outpost, which I'm really excited to hear about, and talking about some of the crystal energy there. Jerome is founder of Unified Energetics, and he's a host of his own podcast, Krystalline Living, and which is really great. And go check out his channel. Unified Energetics is also your YouTube channel. Where you're putting out some really great content. So we're really excited to have you and get into some of the deeper meanings behind what's going on right now in the world and how we can achieve all that self-activation and just, processing consciousness in general and what it actually means. So thanks for coming on. It's so good to have you here.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah. So I guess for the people who don't know who you are, I guess you can just give us a little rundown of, what even drove you to start your business and your podcast and everything else. And we'd love to hear some more about the island you were just telling us about.
Okay. So how I started along this journey, so this was in 2011, where I actually had a near-death experience, a car accident.
Oh, yeah.
Well, before the accident actually happened, I actually received like a download, basically, or an intuitive sense that something was off, right? But my at that time my egoic mind or the human mind ignored it completely, and so the accident happened, and I was basically unharmed. Like I wasn't harmed at all in the accident, even though the car hit my side of the door.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
So his car was completely written off, and I was actually I So they said I was pretty lucky because the model of the car that I was in was a Honda. I think it was a 1995 model Honda Accord that had a steel bar. It was the only model that had a steel bar in the door, right?
Oh, wow.
And that's how, yeah. And so what happened after that was me actually now paying attention to the intuitive sense that I was getting constantly. It was so clear at that point, or I would say my mind, my egoic mind, let go of doubting completely the senses that I was receiving, and I essentially started to follow it completely to the point where I could walk around and I would feel the intuitive sense so clearly. It was like a voice. I would walk down the road, and if the voice told me to stop, immediately I would stop. If it told me turn left or look right, I would, you know. And then I started to get certain confirmations, especially when I was applying for a job at that time. After finishing high school, so that would be equivalent to your high school over there, where it told me to apply at this particular time, send the email at this address, or however I write it up. It told me to do it, did it, got the job. It was basically like a supervisor on a construction site, and so more confirmation started to come in terms of the intuitive sense, to where like I lost certain items on the construction site, and the voice would tell me, yo, like, stop right here and start digging in the sand about maybe a couple of inches into the sand, and they would actually find certain items that I lost on the site. Nice. That's how like accurate it was, right?
Wow.
And it eventually like dwindled away when I started to go back into the mundane reality, or like the third dimensional consciousness, going back into the egoic mind, right? So obviously that through like partying and stuff like that, drinking, all this stuff, it went away, and that bothered me a lot because it was something that, it was pretty helpful, pretty, man, you would definitely miss something like that, right? Yeah. And so it actually started me along a process of actually trying to figure out like what that was. And that was when they started doing a lot of research into like, especially like a lot of the what people would like to call conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And I found Alex Collier. I don't know if you're familiar with Alex.
I just
love Alex Collier.
I just listened to one of his webinars today. From 2018.
We were just talking about him earlier.
Yo, listen, when you the 1994 one, that was the first one that I watched, and actually watching it over, because I watched it again maybe 2 days ago, and the information,
oh yeah, that one's amazing.
Yeah, he sums it up right there. Like,
and you know what I said about his work, I told Aaron, what I listened to was from 2018, but if you didn't know any better, you would have thought it was from yesterday. It's all of his information is so relevant.
Yeah.
And you know when information is true because it stands the test of time. So it's just gold, and I highly recommend looking into his stuff. Yeah.
So he gets into the whole thing with the reptilians, and even like all this stuff with the human trafficking, and right. And so he basically like sums up, to me, he summed up everything when they actually are. I mean, the timeline changed a little bit, but for the most part, a lot of it is pretty accurate in terms of what was going on, right? So I when I watched that, I was mind blown, like, like, yo, what is this? And at the time, there was a guy actually on the construction site who was talking about the Pope and talking about the Jesuits and stuff, and I was like, yo, what's this old man talking about, yo? Like, what? Vampires? Parasites? What? And so that actually started me off along that process. And then fast forwarding into now going to college, I had a period of maybe between December of 2011 and 2012, maybe December 2012. So after December 2012 into like January 2013, I actually got another awakening. In terms of like a friend actually asking me to go to a crystal shop with them. And I got my first set of crystals and started interacting with those. And I actually started to get like certain activations coming through my body from the crystals. I think one of them was a citrine for sure and a blue calcite, right? Mm-hmm. Where I would hold the crystal and I would be able to like intuitively sense certain vibrational changes in my fingers or my hand, and I would actually feel it actually like raising in my mind or more like my head. So I would feel like a pressure, and that actually started a whole set of like practicing, like sensing different energy. You would see me in the supermarket, man. I would be in the supermarket basically like holding up my hands like this and feeling around like the fruits and stuff.
You know what though? There's so much to be said about that, because our food does vibrate, and it's something we need to pay attention to. And I, for one, have gone from a high vibe diet to a not so high vibe diet lately. But I know the feeling I get when I do pay attention, and there's a lot to that, and it's something that we should get into tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So eventually what happened after being like doing a lot of research in energy and watching certain YouTube channels and stuff like that, I actually got into learning Reiki, right?
Nice.
Sure.
The first part. So usually I would say like when I start out, when I started out doing Reiki, they would often like recommend you do like the hands-on kind of the laying of hands stuff, and right. But I actually started out doing more of like the distance type of healing, right? So I got adapted to that a lot quicker, and so that's why I actually apply a lot of that in terms of my distance healing and stuff like that, right? Maybe like a year later, I actually got connected to the information about the Guardians, which would be like Ashiana Dean stuff. I think Carrie Cassidy actually talks about her stuff, and so I started delving into that a bit and applying some of that mechanics into my energetic healing as well. And so and then going into again another fast forward. So it was like essentially like an alignment of certain sequences and where I got more activated. And then last year I actually hit a roadblock in terms of my own consciousness, because okay, let me rewind now. I actually started with meditation, going to meditation classes while I was in college, and I had a couple DMT experiences that actually opened it again for me, right? Where I actually, it would appear to be like what I call the form and the formlessness, which is like a feminine. So most of the time when I go into the spirit realm, or those like DMT type of experiences, I would interact with something that is, or the consciousness would be more feminine, right? It would have a feminine type of voice, right?
Absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been there.
Yeah, right. And so I remember this light basically communicating inside of a void, and it was kind of like dancing or like floating or swimming in a void. And I asked it, who am I, right? And at that time again, I was still very, very impatient. I was still very it still had a bit of the human mind, right? So I basically was like asking it a couple of times, and then it basically stopped, and it made a sound, like almost like a digital sound in a way. It's the only way I can really explain it, right? Like a round, and then it basically started like form different geometries of different beings and funnel down into like a pixelized version of myself, right? And when I saw that, I jumped out of my meditation. And so this was in a classroom of like maybe about 25 people. And I asked when the instructor asked if anyone had an experience to share, I shared it, and everybody looked at me like I was nuts, like, like what the hell, right? So again, that actually sent me along another path of actually searching out that again, right? In terms of going deeper down into the rabbit hole now to see what's going on with the consciousness and the mind and quantum realms and stuff. So, okay, so fast forward now into 2019 or even before that, so 2018, I actually, through different, was more of my, I started delving into more of the realm dynamics in terms of traversing the astral planes and doing a lot of energetic healing and stuff. And then what I noticed happened is that my body actually started to separate the communication link from my mind system, from my spiritual mind, right? Which then caused like a miscommunication or misfiring inside of the body. So it actually appeared in itself through the physical to be like an autoimmune response, right? So when I would eat certain things, and because my body's frequency wanted to go higher. So I was eating bread and stuff like that, and I would get like, like certain rash on my hand and stuff like that. Eventually I started to make the connection between the spiritual aspects of, for example, certain foods, certain chemicals within the foods actually doing certain things like opening like black holes in the energetic field, or more like the organ system. So there are certain connections to like the archons and organs, right? Or at least like the imbalanced form of that energy or aspect connected to our organs, and how the organs actually, as certain people would actually mention, especially in like Chinese medicine and stuff like that, that the organs actually retain a lot of emotions and they hold a lot of traumas and certain energies.
And that actually explains a lot of cancer.
Right. Because
whenever you don't get rid of, whenever you just suppress it, your organs store all those emotions.
Right. So what happens is that,
yeah, go ahead.
The energy, well, from what I understand now, is that your energy, if you see your body as a composite of pixels, right, you would have light communication in your body, right, as pixels. And what would occur is that certain energy resonating within certain portals of your realm system or your body would actually start to slow down or lose light, right? So that can be, you can see that as is like energy hooks or cords connected into like a past frame of reference at times. So like something you may have experienced in the past. So your consciousness is now reliving that past experience over and over, right? Just stuck there, looping, trying to process. But because sometimes we don't have enough minerals in our system, sometimes we don't really have certain like types of bacteria, because a lot of the glyphosate actually kills a lot of the bacteria within our system. We tend to have like a imbalance, or we're not able to process certain things. So that's when in the spiritual community we hear people talking about like shadow work. A lot of that is connected to that aspect of things. from what I've been gathering so far, right? So I was able to like make a connection between the organs and certain foods that we're eating, depending on again, your system, your DNA structure, your energetic composition, and like energetic parasites, right?
Yeah.
So,
I was just
yeah.
going to say, it would make sense that, like, the cabal and these evil entities, they're well aware of this. That's why our food is weaponized the way it is, because they know the real effects it's having on us energetically. The stuff that we'll never pick up on, even our doctors won't notice.
Right.
We're not taught that. We're not supposed to know that's part of the suppression. So I think this is fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so I actually noticed when I would eat certain things. So my higher self and my ego was having a clash. So it's like you're basically going to war with yourself. So you would be eating certain things, certain foods that your body does not want, right? And so now you're a universe in conflict, right?
Yeah.
And so I would allow certain foods like certain foods that my body wasn't willing to now process, allowing it still through my customs, through my portal, which is the mouth. Your portals are your mouth, your ears, your eyes, your nose, right? So it's always important to kind of like pay attention to your prime mobile or your globe and what you allow into your, or at least from my perspective, right? Allowing certain things to enter our field through these portals. So I noticed when I ate like bread or anything like that, I would get like this pain in the side of my face, like a terrible pain, and it was actually my sinuses, right? But energetically, I was actually picking up, like I was seeing like these like little energetic slugs stuck on my face. And I remember like I was so defiant against my higher self. Like I would still eat the food and the pain would come. My consciousness would be like, yo, you gotta stop. You have to stop that. I would get dreams and stuff, and to the point where like I would actually like I would like energetically, because I do energetic or etheric surgery, right?
Sure.
On others well. So I would actually like energetically like pluck off these like energetic parasites that would be like every time, right?
Yeah.
To the point where like it like what happened then was I was my consciousness basically brought me a manifestation to where like the pain was so much I was unable to even do that. And so in itself I had to surrender to my consciousness, to the universe, and just say, yo, I am done. I'm done. Like whatever I need to do, I'm doing it. And so I started going into the research of like the food and the diet and cleansing out the system and cleaning out the organs and stuff like that. I actually noticed that when you actually do certain aspects of cleansing, you actually are able to detach certain energies that would be hooked into certain like past lives or certain different realms of existence or portals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I actually did that, I actually did I don't know if you're familiar with like mucoidal. There's something called mucoidal plaque, which actually the cabal. I sure they're set. When you think about it, right, the amount of manipulation that's actually occurring or actually occurred on the dimension, because it's actually moving away now, is so deep. The whole thing with the calcification of the pineal gland, the shutting down of our bodies, which you can see as like a ship, right? So they basically shut down your centers, your energy centers, by actually feeding certain poisons slowly into the system. And one of those things that that the foods actually causes inflammation or mucus. So through certain research, I was able to make a connection between the whole thing with the what they call biofilm. I think Dr. Zach Bush talks about that biofilm and how is actually like a, because when you actually research like mucoidal plaque, you're gonna see on Google that is a myth and different things like that, right? But when you actually check, right? When you check other sources, obviously like DuckDuckGo or one of those search engines, you're gonna find a vast set of information on mucoidal plaque. So what I was able to gather is that it's basically a film that forms from like calcified mucus inside of the intestinal tract. And that in itself is like a rubber substance within the system that actually now constricts, from what I understand, it constricts your colon. So normally your colon has the ability to kind of like do like a waving motion and like move stuff out. It kind of constricts that. Right. So even like as children, like a lot of people actually take like Similac with iron and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff actually causes a lot of mucus in the system. The milk, especially because again, so this brings a connection to the CBD oil now, right? In terms of the CBD cannabinoids and how they say like the breast milk actually has or had at least like some forms of like CBD, which would actually help like children to like, man, it's wild what the CBD actually does as well. It kind of like brings the body into a homeostasis, which then would help with the process of digestion and stuff like that. So I was able to like make these connections between certain autoimmune responses and something called leaky gut. And that then led me into the whole thing with the mucoidal plaque. So I decided to just jump the gun and do a mucoidal plaque cleanse. I went and looked online and saw a couple of them, little YouTube videos and stuff. And I basically got some of the items and I put it together. I even did it around Christmas time. So this was close to like the winter, I think it's winter solstice. And so I don't know why I always do these. I would do cleanses and stuff around Christmas time, man.
Hey, that's when you're called to. But I think what you're touching on right now is important, because basically what you're saying is you're listening to your body, what your body has to tell you, and you're not ignoring it. Well, you said you had a conflict with your higher self, but when you finally submit to that, that's when you start seeing the growth. And even the dreams, like pay attention to the dreams. At one point I drank milk every day, and I'm lactose intolerant anyway, but I still did it because it was like I loved it, and I wanted cereal. And also I started having dreams of this woman would just like scream at me. It's like, no dairy, and I would wake up like, and that would be the last thing I remember was this woman screaming at me, not like screaming, but she was like, dude, you're not getting it. Like, stop.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's important to pay attention to your dreams and pay attention to your body and what is your body telling you, because, we spend so much time trying to mentally process all this information that we forget to feel into things energetically and see how it feels to our body. Like, you don't need to know if somebody's lying to you or not, because just feel it. What is your body telling you?
Yep.
What is not what your brain is telling you,
Yep. So even in that, then like when you look at the whole thing with the gut brain connection, the whole thing with the vagus. So there's the vagus nerve, which has a connection between the gut and the brain, and actually I think CBD oil actually has some effect on that, which actually helps with the balancing out of that system. So when I actually did the mucoidal plaque cleanse, it was interesting. It went for 9 days, and yeah, it's basically like you're basically weaning off of food for the first 3 days, and then you're like cutting off all food for like I think it's about 5 days, yeah. Right? So no food for 5 days, and you're just using psyllium husk, apple juice, and bentonite clay. And 5 times a day you're using that. And you just drinking that right through. And yeah, and then you're using like certain herbs that would then like obviously then cause like a movement in the system, in your intestinal tract. And man, like, I mean, not to gross out, but like, man, when I saw, hey, it's like a robbery, just like how I saw in like other people's videos and stuff like that, like a robbery type of substance. And and so when I actually, after about day 4, I actually started to notice like my dreams started to get really crazy. I started to notice like my energy, like I could feel like cones of energy, like actually like coming from, you would think that like the energy would just come from here, coming out, man, I was feeling it all up here, feeling like bands coming out my hand. My root chakra was so clear. It was feeling like if I had like some kind of like I was a Christmas tree. Just right.
That's a good analogy, yeah.
You get what I mean? And so I could feel the energy coming out, and it was like hitting the ground, coming out of my feet, and it was coming up. My spine started to shift and all kind of thing as well. And yeah, man, and that basically propelled me forward in certain ways. And when you really think about it, our body is like a ship. So just like the earth, the earth in itself has her own systems, her own connections, her own electrical circuits and stuff like that. You see with the Schumann resonance now how it's basically amping up. That's basically like, you could see it like the earth is basically turning on her engines right now, right? And so it's the same thing with us as well. Like when we do certain cleansing, and I mean, everybody doesn't have to, again, it's whatever you choose to listen to in terms of your body and your inner voice and stuff like that. I also had a pretty interesting experience with actually like using clearing out parasites. So there's a connection between the whole thing with the archons and the parasites and stuff like that, and how for the most part a lot of people actually have like an energetic husk around them, right? Which would then tie in maybe to how you see like when you try to like communicate with certain people who may be still in like a 3rd dimensional paradigm mindset, is like you talking to like a wall sometimes.
Oh my
right?
God, yeah. Dude, it's worse. Every day it's worse too, seems like.
Right, man, yo, that's, hey, I actually have a theory on that, I think it's the bifurcation that is actually occurring. So we literally witnessing like the splitting of 2 worlds. So
I agree. Yep.
So people are they're gonna sign up for Matrix 2.0, where other people are gonna basically go into another paradigm, right?
I love that, because I'm in construction also, and right. I'm it's to a point now where I don't belong anymore. The people there, you nailed it. They signed up for Matrix 2.0, and I'm trying to get out. And I don't belong. I feel it in my gut. I feel the energy. It's time to go, and I'm just trying to figure it out.
Because when you really look at it, it has, so there are different effects in terms of the energy of consciousness, and you would notice like the more you hang around people of like mind, and they're like constantly elevating and evolving and raising the frequency all the time, you would notice that it's easier for you to actually raise your frequency as well constantly, right? Certain aspects or certain people who may be signing up for the 2.0, Again, no judgment in that. It's an experience that some people choose to have. In certain aspects,
I just don't think that they realize they're signing up for it. I think that they're subconsciously doing it because they don't understand. They don't know any better, and it's not necessarily their choice.
A lot of it is fear and the programming, and then so then here's where it ties in then to the husk, the energetic husk that I mentioned earlier. I did a parasite. So a year before I did the colon clearing, I did a parasite cleanse, and I used black walnut, clove, and wormwood, right? A tincture. I would put it in a glass of water, a few drops, and drink it every morning, every night. And on the third day, I started to hear a voice talking to me, right? And it was like, it was basically like, yo, stop this right now. Stop this right now. And it was in like an assertive voice, but I knew that it wasn't like my higher self or my body, right? Like it felt like something else, but it was in my voice. And I basically ignored it and drank the glass of the tincture. And I literally felt like I felt and heard like almost like a screaming, like almost like how you would imagine like a parasite screaming to sound. And I basically felt like something like shift off, like a husk basically broke off. And
I just got chills. Yeah, I knew.
Yo,
yeah, that's
right.
Wild.
And when that happened, man, like I was clear, like no thought, like no like mental chatter in my mind. I remember again, this was around Christmas time.
What is this combination again? I'm gonna write it down.
Is black walnut, wormwood, and clove. So you could find that on the internet. I know people kind of like against Amazon and stuff, but you may be able to find it on there, or you may be able to find it from their direct store. So you could check on Amazon first. You should be able to find it there.
Yeah.
I would say it worked pretty good. But I would recommend too, like if doing that, then you would kind of want to do like like at least clear out the other organs as well. So like the liver, the kidneys, and the lymph and the blood, right? And that would basically, well, I did that, and that set me right, or at least help with the connection or the communication lines in my system, right? So I noticed when that husk came off, it felt like if I had my own energy around me. So I would be because I'm an empath, so I would feel certain energies, especially when I'm in like a town area, around people and stuff. So I remember being out around like close to like Christmas Eve time. So, a lot of people hustling and bustling, people shopping and stuff like that. And I remember I was with my family, and like certain things that would usually irritate me, like being out long or something like that, wasn't bothering me at all. It was like if I was in like this like cocoon, like a kind of like bubble, like my own world, like some kind of retreat, right? And even though like chaos was around, which opened my eyes again. So that's what I basically do in terms of like helping others kind of get aligned to their own like blueprint, their own unique path, because that opened up an experience in where I started to see or view like a crystal road, or it looked like a rainbow bridge, basically. And I would notice like the tangibility of it, where I would see like these stargates. Basically, while I'm walking on the road, I would see these stargates approaching and coming towards me. they would take maybe like a couple of days or so, but then I would be able to basically intuit when the Stargate is approaching, and on that particular day, the Schumann resonance would spike, right?
Wow.
Or something would happen in the reality, or something would happen in my immediate reality. So I would notice if I in that realm space, if I change anything. So if I hit my hand in that realm space, I would like something would happen to where it would hurt my hand over here, right? Something
Wow.
like that. Or like if I observe someone walking on their own crystal road or path, it would give certain information in terms of what they might be going through. So I noticed too as well, like certain emotions would start to spike in people when these portals are actually approaching. So I would be able to tell, like, okay, when certain things are about to happen or shift. And I actually last year saw or witnessed in, I think it's October. I can't remember what was happening back then, but I literally saw the third dimensional reality split from the other part of the bridge, at least for me, right? So for me, it was no turning back. And last year I had locks, all kind of thing. I had hair long. And when I saw that, like, my consciousness was telling me to, like, yo, it's time to let go of certain aspects, including my hair. And yeah, I basically just did it. And I remember when I did it, like I saw like a big bag on my back in that realm, and I basically like dropped it and it broke the road. Right. So it was saying like no turning back. Like you can't,
Wow.
right?
You know, it's amazing. It's amazing how intuitive, how in tune you are with the energetics, the energy, and being able to visibly see things the way you do. It's just a testament to the you know, it's a good place for other people to want to strive for, because when you develop that ability, it just has to become a lot easier to navigate through life, because you actually see what's happening for what it is, and not just
so
blindly.
it gives a whole different perspective, because especially with when it came to the whole thing with the coronavirus, like I could feel the energy coming when it came on. It was some heavy stuff in terms of the energy, that you could feel the energy in the collective. Like they're trying to push this program real hard.
Yeah.
Right. Let it be an illusion. Well, I mean, you could say that it's basically an illusion that they're trying to push, right? This like a holographic insert.
Absolutely.
Program,
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
right? And I could in the beginning of it, I could feel the projections of the consciousness, both in the collective and maybe like within myself, even like the certain layers or aspects of self that still was holding on to maybe like just small little bits of holding on to like that world. And I remember sitting down and meditating, and it was like my consciousness was like, yo, it's time to let go and just be free. And I remember like just letting go of it, and I like to the point where I didn't feel any of it anymore. Like there was no fear in regards to any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Like a lot of these energies, they require us to stay in their realm of fear, anxiety, anger, and all that stuff, right? And it keeps you in a low frequency where they can feed on you.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And so so in itself, when you think about it, then like you would attract those vibrations, those frequencies towards you, right? If you're fearing it and stuff like that. But if you let it go, then you would find that, like, I remember like we having to like go out and look, like when they would allow you to go to the supermarket and stuff like that, man, they had people like all this stuff, man. Have people like children, like they're telling you when to go out, put on a mask and stuff like that, man. It's crazy stuff, crazy, right? All that stuff just mashing up your immune system, damaging your system, psychologically, physically, right? But I remember like not having to even like wait in lines because of how like the alignments, man, like just letting go of like even like clean forgetting about corona, the virus and stuff like that, and just like going to the supermarket, no line, just walk straight in.
I'm experiencing the same exact thing right now. We have a mandatory mask around here, and everywhere I've gone, I just walk straight in. It says, no mask, no service, or mandatory mask. And I walk in, and I haven't been questioned anywhere. I just keep going. Nobody says anything. One guy said something to me at the store, and do you happen to have a mask? And I said, no, I'm medically exempt. He's like, medically exempt? How so? I said, I have asthma. And he goes, oh, okay. And, and just let me go.
You can, okay, huh?
And he didn't even question it, but it's just, I noticed that when you're in that fear, somebody is probably going to stop you and say, hey, where's your mask?
Right. Yeah. Because it changes your reality. Our reality constantly changes and fluctuates. We're quantum beings essentially. So what our perception is, or what we believe, it becomes. See what I mean? So believing is seeing. And not the other way around, because we project from inside of ourselves.
Beautiful. Right? Yeah, that's so true. So, and that's
exactly.
That's what a lot of people just need to start realizing the reality of that. We talk about a lot of this stuff, but how many people are practicing this stuff and and really putting it into applying it to their lives? And I'm guilty of it too. I'm talking to myself right now. Also, it's something that I need to remember to do. So, I'm grateful for the work you're doing, man. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear a little bit more. Right when we were starting, you were telling us about the crystals. And I kind of really hear about that.
All right. So our island, if you observe, our island is actually like it's on the island. Well, the Caribbean island chain, so is basically like a few miles off of the island chain. I was actually checking out a video where this guy was actually explaining the whole connection with the island chain, being like a connection to like what is called Egypt, Kemet, right, or the River Nile, and how they're actually serving like a version of like Stonehenge to a degree, and I think is oh goodness, either Saint Lucia and man, I can't remember the name of the island off the top of my head, but our island actually has some interesting things in terms of like the one, the location, two, the fact that we don't get hit by hurricanes. We rarely get hit by hurricanes. They just go up or down. They usually say that's the winds that actually do that. But man, some weird stuff occurs here, right? We had a couple of hurricanes, or at least storm systems would pass, and I would notice, or you check on the map, you would see like the hurricane would literally stop, almost like if something stops it, right? Stuck in its tracks, and then it would do so and make a U-turn, bam, and turn and go up, right? Like it would just pause and say, "Wait, all right, let me go down, let me go up." So our island has certain crystalline structures, a lot of limestone and stuff. I noticed like when I go certain places, especially like in the center of the island at the top, I had an experience where I was with one of my cousins and his friend, and we were actually in the middle of a storm, right? I don't even remember how we got up there in the middle of a storm. We were up there, and I remember like the wind blowing and stuff, and we just basically like, tuning into the energy, and you could feel like the electrical currents just running up your foot like ropes. You would think that they're like giant centipedes running up your foot.
Wow.
How strong the energy was. So yeah, again, like there are a lot of like different. We see a lot of ships here, like fleets of ships at times. If your perceptions are open to that, seeing certain. Actually, that's how I first started researching stuff about UFOs and came across Alex Coley and stuff. I literally saw like a bunch of UFOs like flying like light ships, basically like, zipping across the sky over into the ocean, right? Forming like these little triangle patterns and certain little formations and basically like disappearing and reappearing. So stuff like that we tend to see a lot of here. I even saw a CIA document actually documenting how the locals actually saw some UFOs here as well. So
yeah, I mean, it only makes sense. There's something about that area that, you know, those crystals are probably beaming some type of energy up.
yeah.
That the storms separate, UFOs or ETs may be attracted to.
So I know there's a heavy presence of there's some like Freemason activity and stuff, and certain layers of maybe like I don't know if you're familiar with like the whole thing with the mud flood and like Tartaria and stuff like that.
The mud, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I would have heard stories about certain stuff like that. I sure like even in the States, you guys would have seen there would be some evidence of like the whole thing with Tartaria being in certain areas over there as well. Our island has some connections energetically also to America in terms of South Carolina. A lot of our ancestors would have kind of gone over there to like build over there and stuff like that. So the energy in itself is really is interesting in terms of the energy, man. Like I see in my perceptions, I see like certain like nets being cast from this region over into the States, which kind of brought me to the realization of it being like a Atlantean outpost in a sense, because America is basically simulating or mimicking the basically repair of Atlantis in our DNA, the timeline.
Yeah.
A lot of the timelines are actually playing out now, including experience I had in terms of my consciousness speaking to me in a dream and telling me about I remember seeing some meteorites coming down in a dream, and what happened was that this guy was actually telling me, yo, like don't pay attention to the corona and like all the other stuff that coming. Watch what they're doing with artificial intelligence. Right?
Bingo.
And when you look at that, the whole connection in terms like China actually now using artificial intelligence and why the I think the cabal then would kind of like side with them. You seeing like a kind of alliance going on with them and the World Health Organization. And then if you look up stuff on AI, like man, I'm telling you, like a lot of people overlooking that stuff, yo, real thing, because
it's a lot more severe than people realize.
Right.
Yeah. And then the nanobites and the smart dust and all that stuff, that's the technology that they're using.
Right. So
allegedly, that stuff has been in the chemtrails for decades, and it's already in us.
right.
You know.
Right. Smart dust and stuff like that. Black goo. So in itself, I actually had to move to the realm or the understanding within myself of actually now removing even that aspect of it from in terms of like in relation to realms of like fear put up or programming in our consciousness put up against the manifestation of a negative AI consciousness, basically. Because when you look at it, if we stay in duality or polarity, they're gonna always have like some big boss we gotta defeat. So if we then defeat the cabal and them, we gotta fight, you know, AI and all that stuff. But I kind of like have come to the realization of our ability to also like quantum jump, where we're able to move into timelines where these things don't affect us. Again, it you know, some people stay on the fence about it, but I honestly, from certain experiences, I have seen certain layers of quantum jumping or the ability for your consciousness, whatever you believe you focus on, you're able to quantum jump into, you're able to attract that reality. And that's why they actually force a lot of these programmings, these projections upon our consciousness to basically, we're like their little wishing well. They want a wish happen. They just put it in movies like 5, 10 years, 20 years behind, and just keep pushing that programming right through. People eventually just manifest it or create it. It's a slow process. Their process is pretty limited. We have a when we connect to our spiritual mind, our basically 100% of our brain capacity, or the 12-strand DNA, as some people would call it. We connect to all those aspects of our body activations. We're able to actually do a lot of things. Like you can even see as the energy starts to increase, like a lot of people are going to be able to connect to their telekinesis, telekinetic abilities, telepathic abilities. Like I was even telling Tyler, like when you message me, man, like every time, every time you message me, like just before, maybe like 20 minutes to 10, 20 minutes, like I would get a thought in my head, and then boom, you would message me, ask me the question. So that's the awareness of like communicating in the other realms first, and actually seeing the manifestation into the projected reality or the holographic simulation.
It's funny. I would ask him a question. He'd be like, I already have the answer. I already knew you were gonna It was it happened like three separate occasions. It was pretty wild, but it's just really cool to be able to connect with somebody like that. And it happens all the time, every day with everybody. But if you're paying attention, you can pick up on it.
That happens to me a lot when I'll be thinking about somebody and then I'll get a message from them, or they'll show up, or I'll run into them. Stuff like that. It happens to me all the time.
So is the awareness like paying attention to what we're receiving, and so that's where the whole thing with the crystalline living comes in. Some people call it like lucid living or lucid dreaming while awake, basically. Recognizing that this in itself, this reality is a holographic projection of what we are creating within our minds. Is basic, like certain levels or forms of communication links to for example, like this glass, like we think this is solid, and it has like it's basically a water containment unit, and it has water in it, and when we drink it gives us hydration and stuff like that. But it's basically like it's communication of light, basically, right? So we're essentially quantum beings in we would call it like a body simulator or like an avatar. So depending on how you know, which vocabulary you use, and that's what the body essentially is. It's basically an expression of ourselves in this reality presently right now.
Yeah, so in the holographic universe is something that is hard for a lot of people to grasp. Even me still, like I've had it explained to me and I understand it. But you have to break it down into frequencies and really understand everything. It's the vibration of everything that really makes something solid and something not. And if you match its vibration, then it's not there. You just pass through it.
Right.
And
standing waves, So I mean, for me, even like it took me a while to actually have a certain level of to accept it. Even still, like I kind of like I would move in and out. Well, I'm more grabbing it now in terms of living it, experiencing it. But yeah, it is. So when you look at, for example, like the computer game, the video games and stuff like that, you see them, they talk about like polygons and the graphics and using, you can imagine when they add in then like, add in quantum computing and AI and stuff like that into video games or virtual reality, and then they slap on a little 5G onto that, right? Then the speed, the bandwidth gonna be crazy, right? And so even in that, when you look at that, that reality that they want, that Matrix 2.0. You ever watch Ready Player One? Right. So it would be like kind of like that.
I love that movie.
Because it would be able to create a virtual reality where you're not able to even realize or recognize that you're in one. But the whole thing is we're already in one.
Yes, we are. Absolutely. Right? So, just social media in itself and the conversations and the Zoom calls and everything else. Like we have an entire, all of my friends and relationships are almost online now.
Yeah.
And it is another reality. You go to work and it's like the physical reality, but then you come and log in and you enter this other realm of this other universe, basically. It's already here.
Yeah. So when you think about it, then the matrix, or what people call the matrix, there are different variants of it. So there's who we would consider to be maybe the standardized version or the movie type of matrix from the Matrix movie, where basically how the system is now, debt slavery is like a vampiric system. So it basically draws off energy from people. It triggers the emotions. You get triggered, you get angry, you get sad, draws off energy. Uses basically the energetic system of people as a battery source, battery system, right? Feeding into some kind of like black hole system, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the other form of the matrix, which is the more organic or the more like crystalline type of matrix structure, which would be basically a womb, right? A creation station, a creation station. Like you have experiences in nature. You can do certain things. You interact. Nature and all that stuff, real. The other stuff in terms of like people's programming, people's attitudes, behaviors. Think about it. Like we are in mostly buildings. The buildings are boxes. Everybody is in a box. You got the box. You're familiar with like the Saturn moon matrix,
Black
cube and all that stuff, and they show you It's a cube, a structure. They box you in. They square, the circle. They put, and you think about even the whole thing with the cabal and their affiliation, their connection with Sal.
That's the third time I've seen an orb fly through your screen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll try and point them out.
Yeah, I know it's
There's one that just flew right in front. Yeah.
And they connect with Saturn, which is like the darker force or darker side of Saturn, which then basically hacks the feminine aspect or the aspect of Venus, which is why they have the whole thing with the 5-pointed star, and then they invert it, which is like turning mankind, right? So when you look at it, the 5-pointed star, we are actually 5-pointed stars. We have head, 2 hands, 2 feet. Right? 5 points. Which then shows you that they use the geometry of Venus to create the reality to certain aspects, right? Not everything, but certain aspects. They have connections with Baal. I was even listening to a podcast the other day where I think you're familiar with Savan Bomar. I think he
maybe, I don't know.
He talks about even like Santa Claus being like Hearn the hunter, who actually when so that then ties into the whole thing with the trafficking and stuff like that, even because Hearn the hunter, if you research it a bit,
that hangs with me so well. Yeah, the Santa Claus, there's something else to that. Yeah.
When you look at it, when you think about the story of Santa Claus, like he has reindeer. When you actually research Hearn the hunter, he has something called Sleipnir, right? Which is like some kind of like 8-legged horse with like horns and stuff like that. When you look at like the tree now, the Christmas tree would essentially be your spine, right? It climbs down the chimney, so he basically comes down the back door of your consciousness and basically lays gifts under your tree in your root chakra. Actually thinking about it now, when you think about it, then that would then link into the whole thing. It could possibly link into the whole thing with the colon, because the mucoidal plaque, because the colon in itself is the root chakra, or has a connection, an energetic connection to the root chakra, right?
Yeah.
So he lays gifts in the colon or the root chakra. It basically blocks the chakra or the system, the energetic system, from flowing in a specific way, which then halts your ship from moving. So essentially, what I go about kind of like assisting then in doing is assisting in, because I connect to certain realms of an individual's consciousness, kind of like a consciousness engineer of sorts, and would be able to assist in making certain connections to the mind system. And then I did a lot of research then in like certain things with cleansing and stuff as well, which then makes sense in adding in that aspect of it for the whole system. But a lot of that stuff basically stops you from like riding the waves or sailing, basically, because your ship would be without a sail, right? And in this time now, like, it's very important for us to actually have our sail. Some people have their motor active, which is their motivation. So you would see all of what's going on, and you get the motivation to go and grow your own food, to get more serious with your sovereignty. And then other people have sails, right? Where they just, the energy comes and it just flows over. And then I had an aspect of a vision where I actually saw some people actually like drowning in the energy of like like so much information becoming true. And I even wondered too if like when you look at the whole thing with the mud flood and fire flood or water flood, whichever flood you want to put in terms of like the different epochs that change, the different cycles that change, the different resets in the system, right? This aspect of it now would be a reset of information, Aquarian age, ether, right? So we're getting a lot of information. You could see like the mainstream media be trying to do like damage report information that come out, and they're like damage report and just trying to do some damage control, man, and trying to
that's all they do is report the bad stuff. Like there's so many positive things happening right now in this world that just will never get, the media is the last domino to fall, really. They're the last. They're the cabal's weapon that's still standing. It's still working.
They're like the mass mind control weapon of the cabal, basically. That once they get taken out, it's like there's this massive blanket of mind control that suddenly isn't there anymore. That's not telling everyone what to think, what to fear, what to believe.
And we don't know what it's like. Nobody on this planet knows what it's like to actually live in that free society that isn't constantly manipulated, and to think for yourselves and to be able to pursue your ideas. And that's going to be weird for people at first.
It's going to be. I know. It's telling someone that the other day too. Like we have no idea what that feels like. We can only try to imagine, but like you can imagine just like getting up and doing what you love and just getting, you have everything that you need. Like you don't have to worry about anything, which would allow for people's consciousness to then expand even more. They can now pursue certain things. If you want to go and travel tomorrow, you can go and hop on a plane and go and,
Exactly. You're not living in survival mode like most people are right now.
Exactly. And what's interesting about that is that people will argue that and like, oh, we have vacations and days off, but in the back of your mind, you always know that I have to be back at work. I have a house payment. I have another bill coming right around the corner. There's something that's always constantly tugging at you that's stopping you from really enjoying that moment to the fullest. And with those cords cut, people won't know how to act, and but it'll be beautiful.
Yeah, it's I think about it, and it brings so much excitement, especially observing the energy that is coming in and how certain things are actually changing, certain chess plays are actually occurring within the reality. I try to always stay very, very neutral, or balanced in terms of my the information, in terms of the energetics or the exposure to certain things I receive within my energetic system. So I noticed, for example, like when you look at what's going on with the energy, especially the Schumann resonance, the energy that's coming in through the planet, the cosmic energy, cosmic rays, the gamma rays. You're actually seeing certain manifestations in the physical reality that are actually aligned with that, with certain planetary alignments and stuff like that. I'm hearing that there is a form of planetary alignment that may be occurring maybe the end of this year, around the equinox, not the equinox, the solstice, winter solstice. So it's and if we really check like the whole thing with the Gregorian calendar and the link with the Mayan calendar and stuff like that, say that this is actually 2012 that we're in right now, and we're actually transitioning into a new realm. So like around maybe like the end of the year, we're gonna reach a point of like no return, basically.
That's good though.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, which I guess was like maybe synonymous then with what I would have experienced then last year, around October. So I think the point of no return manifesting would be around maybe, I don't want to make no predictions or anything, but
don't do that. You'll get yourself in trouble.
Exactly, right?
Exactly.
So
I want to bring something up about the Mayan calendar.
Right.
So I have this calendar here. It's really hard to tell, but it's you don't need, it doesn't, if you have it, if you know the day today, you can know the
it's like the whole system collapsed and
the
whole no power anymore.
Yeah.
Basically no computers.
This ends and it'll tell you the date, the month, and the year.
Yeah.
And the day, down to the day until like 2061 or something. But okay, now what if a civilization came along and found this and they saw that it ended in 2061? They were like, oh my God, the world's going to end in 2061. But the person who made this just ran out of room. And that's
right. Exactly. So in itself, the world is not going to end. Like it is. We could say that the Babylonian system will in itself
the old world,
world
system
gonna end. The new world will. So for people, it can feel like if it ending, it can feel like, man. Again, like I tell you, I had some real odd dreams within the last couple of like months, where like I see like certain things like I had a dream. I saw like these little children like playing on a field, running around in a circle, singing some folk songs and stuff. And then some religious people came up and start calling them witches, right?
Wow.
Because they're different or whatever the case may be. And I remember defending these kids in the dream. And I remember the religious folk calling the police. And so the dream switched from that aspect to me talking to the police officer and asking if he find that this making sense, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember the dream then switching to the religious people then, which I guess would be kind of like synonymous with like dogmatic type of thinking and like that box thinking reality, like a rigid structure, like not being flexible in your awareness of certain things, right? And they literally like lock themselves in a box with a key inside with them, and the box, a metal box, actually caught on fire inside. So it was like a furnace, and they had the key inside, so they could get out at any time, right?
Yeah.
And so while they were actually, they didn't recognize or saw or see that there was a fire inside. They didn't see that there was a fire inside. And they just basically locking themselves in a box to protect themselves from the children that appear to be different. You see what I mean? And you're seeing, right? So you're seeing certain manifestations of that as well, with people like boxing in themselves even further with as more information starts pouring and a wider awareness of stuff, opportunity for you to like basically expand your awareness. Some people are gonna choose the route of, because of fear, deprogramming, right? Gonna lock themselves inside of certain aspects of their programming.
Well, it literally and figuratively, because the mask and the mandatory, stay-at-home orders and all this stuff, that actually makes people not want to leave that box. And it's physically in the reality here. You can speak metaphorically also about this, but it's true. Like there's every store, every restaurant says mask required, no mask, no service. People don't want to deal with that, so they're just not going to go anymore. And people are going to just seclude themselves, and they're comfort zone is going to become so small that it ends up trapping them, like you said.
And people are told,
and they have the key the whole time.
Well, when people are told by the authorities that wearing a mask is a good thing and is protecting people, when it's really not doing anything, it's just your just freedoms are being taken away, and you're being forced to do all this ridiculous stuff and live in fear and everything else. And then for an agenda, obviously, it's all for agendas. But people don't see that. They just blindly believe what they're told, and that's it. And you can't tell them otherwise. Some people you can't tell them otherwise, because you're just you're just into crazy conspiracy stuff, or you're just weird. Or you don't care about people because you don't.
That's the first attack, right? They be like, you sound like somebody that believes in conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Right. Well, that just you need to take that as a compliment and tell them, I do. So you mean that? You know what that tells me is that you're telling me that I've reached the ability to learn how to think for myself. To think for myself and critically think, and not blindly follow. We're taught never to question authority, and that's very apparent right now, which people still truly believe in that.
Yeah. So, and then the other aspect of a dream that I had then, which was the one that I mentioned earlier with the meteorites coming down and stuff like that, which I believe to be all this stuff again with the COVID and all these different events, right? These different distractions, because we're really supposed to be tuning into ourselves to a degree, basically accessing a lot of these realms within ourselves, which would allow for us to then have I'm not saying to ignore what's going on, but is an inside outside thing. So the other dream that I had with these meteorites coming from the sky, blowing up all the main things like the gas stations and different stuff like that, people's material stuff like chairs and stuff. And I remember walking around in the dream and seeing everybody having their chair and a cup and stuff like that broken, and they basically holding on. They're not paying attention to what was going on, and just get themselves out of the way. They're trying to bring everything with them from that world. Again, that could be a symbol of certain things that we may be holding on to in the past, right? Because a lot of people, most people, even myself, but I started doing a lot of shadow work in those aspects. The more I got downloads about it, certain past frames of reference actually kind of overlays into our manifestation field. So most people tend to live in their past, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Past always that's where we get these repeating cycles and stuff like that. Right now we're being tested to remove or let go of those past frames of reference. That's where you can tend to see a lot of stuff coming up in your mind, in your consciousness, certain repeated cycles coming up. You have the opportunity to now clear them either in your dreams, in the physical manifestation, or in your mindset system, right? Which is another aspect of what I do as well too, in assisting in actually connecting to certain aspects, but through the presence of your consciousness. So that then brings more of the energy now that would have been hooked or laced into certain past frames of reference into your now moment or your presence. So then you have more energy now to direct your future reality. And all of it is changeable in the present.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's where we're actually going through right now. So we have a huge opportunity right now to access way more information about ourselves, our missions here. If we have some certain aspects of what we're here to do. You guys are doing a really good job in terms of the podcast and
Thank
You
you.
know,
Yeah.
right?
I think a lot of people are finding their way, at least getting, finding a way to contribute. But
Yeah.
really, everybody has the same mission. It's
Yeah.
it's exploring and expanding your potential,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that
Expressing.
will lead to everything. Yeah.
Yep. 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 Fully expressing yourself, your divine self into this reality.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
So we're gonna start wrapping it up, I guess. We've been talking for a little bit here. You didn't even need us here, man.
Yeah.
Your podcast is just keep going with the podcast. You have so much to say. It's brilliant stuff.
Thanks.
Aaron had to say something that I was laughing about. Whenever he had the dream about the meteorites and everybody was trying to grab their belongings, I was thinking of my Sinbad.
My Sinbad DVD.
So there's
the inside joke.
There's this Sinbad stand-up comedy that's pulled off the internet, off YouTube. You can't even.
For it.
We tried to watch it one day, and it was like gone from the internet.
Gone. You can't even pirate it.
Well, YouTube had a few clips from it, but that was it. They didn't have like the whole thing.
So and I went to
couldn't even torrent it.
I went to buy it, and it's like $100, or the cheapest.
The cheapest one was like $80 or something that I could find. Like, why is this so expensive?
Why though?
We don't know.
There's no reason.
So I found one for $45, and I told Aaron
that was the cheapest one we could find.
I said, I'm buying it. I don't care. I wanted him to see it.
Yeah.
So it finally came in the mail, and I was like, dude, if anything goes down, if this house ever burns down, grab that Sinbad DVD.
It's like, don't worry about the dogs. Don't worry about.
My Sinbad DVD. The house will be burning. I'll be trying to go in. The police are like, you can't go in there, sir. I'm like, my Sinbad DVD.
Man, like I tell you, it's so many different aspects of like, man. So I noticed like the way how the reality, or at least from what I experienced, like certain things, if you manifest certain things, like a pair, like maybe a pair of headphones or a cell phone or a computer or something like that, I would notice, right, like if you hold on to the manifestation, like you're enamored by it, and you're like, oh yes, and you just sucked into it. Mm-hmm. At least for me, something would happen to it. So the other day, I had some spring water in a glass jar. Right. I recently bought like a water filter and stuff, so I was excited to try this whole thing with like structured water from spring, filter it and drink it, and it would give you like this type of like, my body is so sensitive to certain things now. Like when I drink water and stuff, it gives me like this, I could feel the hydration going into my brain. So it gives me like a little high, right? Mm-hmm. And I would drink it, and so I know. So when I had a jar, one of the jars with the spring water, and I was gonna like place it on a table counter so the sunlight would get to it, and I rest this thing on the couch, the edge of the couch. My consciousness is telling me, yo, don't do that, that's gonna drop. And they're like, man, get some time. I got it. It right there is not gonna drop. This thing just somehow just decide to jump and roll off the couch. and the thing is, the glass is a big gallon jar, and the glass thick, so you wouldn't expect this thing to break from the height that it dropped. This thing broke like a water balloon. Like it literally popped like a water balloon. I was like, yo.
Oh man.
Yeah, so again, like it brought me again to that aspect of like processing what was immediately what happened there in terms of going into my consciousness and see if I can let it go. Or if I gonna like, as people from Trinidad would call it, tote it, like carry feelings of it, right? And
Yeah.
so I literally from there like had to like let it go, like say shit, like it happened for a reason, right? Like
Yeah. So you're telling me that I'm not gonna be able to save my Sinbad deed.
what I'm saying is like if you watch Sinbad and you could remember it.
Oh yeah.
maybe if you let it go, right?
It's like the most random.
I just want to make a correction. The world is going to end in 2062, not 2061, according to this calendar.
What do you say the calendar does again? Let me see.
I don't know if you'd be able to see this. It has a dial. You could spin it. It's hard to focus.
No, the world's going to end in the end of this year.
I was seeing it, yeah.
I don't know how. It's hard to see, but yeah. Anyway, 2062 is the world according to this. All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. You're just a wealth of knowledge, and it's just amazing to listen to you talk. You're a good storyteller. Everybody go check. Let everybody know how they can find you.
So you can find me on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Anchor. That's Krystalline Living. Or you can find me on YouTube, Unified Energetics, and Facebook, Unified Energetics.
And then Unified Energetics, is that your platform for actually helping?
Yeah, so I have so Unified Energetics on Facebook. I have certain sessions. I have an aspect of the sessions I do based on donations, where I would actually give like certain tips and guidance in terms of your own personal ascension process. I would go about doing certain alignments as well, in accordance at that time for you is best. And then I have like a set of packages as well too, right?
Awesome.
Which would assist your energetic system, your consciousness in aligning or moving out of the phantom matrix or the false matrix, moving into the crystalline matrix alignment.
Awesome. Yeah. So anybody listening, and if you feel like you need that, which we all do, make sure you connect.
You do.
Yeah. Make sure you connect with him and set yourself up a session. Check out his podcast. It's Krystalline Living with a K, and we'll have the links below for all that stuff. And for everyone who's listening, if you don't know by now, Aaron and I will be at Camp Disclosure in North Carolina, Flat Rock, North Carolina, August 27th through the 31st. Guys, it's coming right around the corner. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially if you want to get out in nature. James Gilland will be there as a keynote speaker, but there's plenty of other speakers. There's hiking, there's a lake. I mean, it's just, we're going to have CE5s connecting with the ETs. It's really going to be fun. Music. It's just going to be awesome place, awesome time. So come hang out, grab your ticket. The description is, what am I trying to say? The link is in the description below.
The description is in the link.
Yeah. So that definitely, and we will be at ECETI in a couple weeks here, which is right around the corner.
Like
in
2 weeks.
Yeah, we're definitely excited about that too. So hopefully we get to finally meet some of you guys who are always, messaging us and donating stuff to us, which we greatly appreciate. We couldn't do this without you guys. And we love all of you. Thank you guys for tuning into this because, without you, we wouldn't be here. And it just makes it a lot of fun. And Jerome, you keep doing what you do,
You're amazing,
brother.
Man.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah,
thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. It's going to be great, man. I can't wait. If you feel like it, you can join the live chat. We premiere this on Thursday night on YouTube, and you can get in the live chat and talk to the people that are all,
if you want.
If you want to.
It's just an option.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
and they're probably listening to this right now, chatting about it. Yeah.
So what I'll say is, just to close out, is in the alignments of balance, I would kind of like recommend everyone to like tune into their hearts and almost like see like an energetic field of like a golden light around you. with the intention of having balance within your energetic field. And I have found that to be very effective in all levels of even layers of protection, even balance. Just allow the balance to emanate around you.
Yes.
Right?
I love that.
Beautiful. Exactly.
I love that. That's not something that we think about often, but it's nice to get used to practice thinking about that all the time, balancing that energy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Is it over? Not to the fist jumps. It's over.